Welcome to Dark Paradise Podcast. It's your host, Rashid. Welcome back. I have a special guest for you guys today. I have Majestic Tillman here with me today. I want to focus today on the topic of narrative storytelling. So, hey Majestic.
Hi, how you doing?
How you been? How's everything been? What you been up to?
Nothing really much. Just applying for a lot of things as an actor and seeing where it goes. So right now, it's, just playing the waiting game.
Okay. So, what are some things that you think you can do to draw your audience into your story? And also, how do you really entertain an audience when telling a story, especially a visual story like film? A lot of people don't realize that film you can see what the characters are doing. Everything's being portrayed.
I think having whatever your main character or subject matter is, having it be dynamic and complex. And I think no matter what, like whatever you pick as your subject matter, it has to be they have to portray human quality that we all can relate to, and like have a story arc that not only makes sense but is actually entertaining to watch. And the character needs to change at the end, or like be on their way to changing, because nobody just wants to see a story where the person is still stuck in the same place and it's repetitive. I think like those are the biggest things, and actually giving a character motivation that actually makes sense and that's actually driving and compelling, and trying to reinvent the wheel in terms of how you tell your story and what's at your disposal to use in a different way as opposed to other people.
What are some things people need to realize about the process of writing a story, and then also the process of going out and producing this story, the production side? What are some key factors that go into that?
I think understanding that there's going to be a lot of rewrites, that there's going to have to be compromises when you write your script, and to understand your weaknesses as a writer. Those are like some of the biggest things that I had to face. And again, going back to making the plot make sense, giving the characters something like again, not just having them just go through the motions, but giving them reason to why he's doing what he's doing. I think that's what you really need to focus on in the writing, and getting different people of different backgrounds and ethnicities and age demographics, having a diverse amount of people to read your script and go over it with you to see how they're feeling, and being able to take constructive criticism, and also learning which criticism to take and which to throw out, and I feel like that's what you need to focus on for the script writing. And I think for production, being able to be flexible, being able to change things on the fly, and being able to communicate really well with the people that you're working with, so that the project can get done. Also, it also helps to be a quick thinker and a good problem solver, because not everything is going to go the way it should, and figuring those things out and sitting and processing things, and not to get frustrated or overreact, but to have a cool level head, grounded in sensibility to really move along. Those things like in production help a lot.
When distinguishing a conflict in your story, how important is that, really understanding that conflict and being able to show that conflict?
Go ahead.
And then it being portrayed, this conflict being portrayed through the character, I guess.
That's the whole movie right there, is the conflict. If you can't get the conflicts right, then the whole movie's done. Like, nobody's gonna get it. Or if you don't, or it's too vague, or it's too broad of a topic, and you don't centralize it and you don't make it personal to that character, it's not gonna work. The whole thing is just gonna fall flat, I feel like, and nobody's gonna be interested in seeing your project. And that conflict has to be clear, it has to be concise, and it has to make sense. You can't just do it for the sake of doing it. Again, it goes back to like just trying to move along. It has to have relevance to the however many characters you have, or like the central character. It has to make sense why this is bothering that character, why this character is facing this problem. It all has to be relative, and your world building, so it has to make sense. And if that doesn't, then the film is a flop, I feel like.
What are some recommendations for people to do to be able to to realize that maybe they have too much dialogue, or maybe this doesn't need to be said, it can be shown?
I mean, that's a problem. A lot of even I've had that problem. Like writing is that you're too exposition heavy. And it took a cinematographer to tell me that film is a visual art. There doesn't need to be as much dialogue because the visual cues will help the audience understand.
And then, how important is the people around you, having the people that you have around you, and key roles. Understanding and establishing key roles within that process of going through making your film.
I mean, so I shot a project called Guilt Trip 2, which is a follow-up to a project I had done last year, called The First Guilt Trip. And it stars me, and playing opposite of me is my good friend Akazimis. And basically what it is, like, it starts off with us in our safe house after we've been robbing, around the neighborhood, and we meet up. And it wasn't my first project shooting, but it was my first, real time, like, putting together a whole set and, like, getting my crew together. We shot it all in one day, so it was, I think we went from, like, 10 to 8, like, something like that, and we were to get all the footage that we needed done. I mean, it was another eye-opening experience because I was the director, I wrote it, and then I was also, the main actor in it. A co-director, I should say. And it was, there was a bunch of challenges, like you were talking about, like roles. I had to juggle 3 roles. I had a PA, I had an AD, and it was hard, but it would have been harder if, the people I had on my set didn't know what they were doing. Everybody on my set was, really hardworking, and I'm glad that I handpicked everybody who was on my set because I know their past history, I know how hard they work, I know that they're people who get stuff done, and they take their ego out of it, and if something doesn't work, everybody comes together to figure out the solution to get it all done so we can move efficiently. That's a great thing because I've been on other sets where egos get involved and people don't want to budge on anything that they're saying, and people are being petty and picky about things when the biggest part of film, I feel like one of the biggest parts is learning how to compromise. If you can't compromise, then it's always going to be strenuous and it's always going to be even longer.
Looking at the industry now and looking at films, I've gone to movies a few times, and I feel like we've become more visually heavy entertaining than we are story entertaining or originality. And it's hard to be original because there's been over millions of films and ideas, and in a sense no idea is original. It's just more of the sense of like how you portray yourself. How do you feel storytelling is going right now in the industry, and what are some recommendations you think need to be made?
I mean, I feel like mainstream media, like films, have never been much substance. Like very few times have there been substance that has gone through. I don't know. I feel like now you can't really complain about that because there's so many different other avenues to consume media. That, I mean, if you're still, that's kind of on you if you're that archaic where you're still looking for like mainstream media or like movies to satisfy like those certain urges. You can go on the internet and find pretty much anything you want to watch. So if you're still stuck on that just means you're just being lazy. So there's so many different forms of media to go out and to watch and to support. And, I think a lot of people have to understand that, like, when you're complaining about mainstream, the reason why it's mainstream is because the mass people still like it. You're just probably the vocal minority, which is fine. Like, you have every right to voice your opinion, but there's so many other ways to, like, consume media. Like, you don't even have to watch movies. Like, I can't even tell you a new movie that's coming out. That's how little I watch TV or pay attention to stuff I'm just not interested in. If you got like 10, 15 minutes, you can figure out a source to satisfy your needs. You can just literally Google what you want to see and then just go get it. So all of that mainstream movies are blah, blah, blah. Like, you just need a balance. Because then if there is no more explosions and it's all, I mean, I guess you could say substance heavy, like story-driven narrative, then you're going to complain, well, why is everything so deep? We need some action. Sometimes we just want some carefree stuff. I mean, people are always going to complain, so I just pay that no mind. Especially nowadays where, again, you can get anything media-wise, like whatever itch you're looking to scratch, you can get it anywhere. And if not, you can create it yourself.
as ending the show, what is some advice you could give the audience before leaving? And do you think it's important for them to understand when going into film, especially you being an actor and a filmmaker, a writer?
I think to perfect your craft, to always be practicing and always try to be learning something, because there's always something new to learn. And I also think, going back to the balancing act, figuring out, not just as a writer, but like as an artist, what critique to take and what to leave on the floor. Learning how to, when somebody's talking to you about, you got to do this or whatever, like to figure out personally what you feel like you need to do, or like if that works for you or not. Or if you don't feel like you need to go to college, or you feel like you do, when somebody's saying, you do, or you don't, there's different pathways to get to what you want. So never feel like you're limited to just one option. Again, weigh it up how you feel like you need to go about it, and just, once you make a decision, to stick with it and not, flip-flop back and forth because somebody's telling you what to do. And to find your voice, you have to figure out, your style of like acting, or like your style of writing, and just hone it and practice. That's the best advice I can give.
Well, thank you for coming on the show, Majestic. We'll definitely have to have you back soon. Do you have you want to tell us about any things you got going on, or you think we should know about before you leave?
No, like I said, I'm waiting until March to shoot my short film. I'm just getting everything together now, starting now. But really, that's pretty much all I got, in the works right now that I'm working on.
Okay. Thank you again, Majestic. Here ending the show. Thank you for listening to Dark Paradise Radio.